Good morning, everyone. It's a lovely and cold Saturday morning here, and this is one of those days that reminds me that the summer is over, and despite being sunny and nice outside, clear skies, it's still cold. It's not negative yet, but it's like, man, I'm wearing a bunch of layers and I'm still cold, so this is the time when I have to get this car done before I'm out here with frozen fingers. So that being said, I have been to Canadian Tire recently, which is, I mean, if you're not familiar with Canadian Tire, then it's a hardware store, but it's also like an everything store these days. Most of my tools have come from Canadian Tire because they have these ridiculous sales, and that's the best way to get this stuff. But one of those sales was on this. I got some ratchet straps to hopefully help me remove the engine when the time comes. These are relatively heavy duty ones, so that'll be easier, I hope. Those are specifically for safety purposes. Obviously, they're going to be backups to my other pulling methods because I don't want to die. And then the next thing is a siphon pump. Very cheap, hopefully going to be good enough. This is rated for fuel. So the idea of this morning, at the very least, is I'm going to attempt to drain the gas tank by taking off one of the gas tank covers and taking out the fuel pump, and hopefully draining the tank using this pump. So we'll see how that works. I'm not sure that the hose on this thing is going to be enough, but yeah, only one way to find out. Alright, so here is the idea. I think that this one is the fuel pump, and then there's also another identical thing on the other side. I believe that this tank straddles the entire back end of the car, so yeah, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to blast the bolts off this one and see if that's the right one. If not, doesn't really matter. We might end up having to take off both. But the idea is to siphon the gas out of that and then put it into my gas can. I'm a little bit worried about this because I don't want to just accidentally spray gas everywhere. So what I've been doing is, I mean, that tank is a 20-liter tank. And I've been filling up stuff like my lawnmower just to try and get it as empty as possible. That is the biggest gas container that I have, and as if I'm remembering correctly, this car has about a quarter of a tank left, and it used to be premium gas. I've actually never put gas in this car. So the idea is basically that I get the used to be premium gas out of here, although it's likely deteriorated by now, and put it in that tank, and then I can just use it for my snowblower this winter, because it'll run on pretty much anything. It's a Briggs & Stratton. So yeah, let's give it a go here. I may just have to start running random engines that I have to use up this gas, because I don't want to put it in any of my cars. So we may end up winterizing this engine, for example, which is a nice Honda engine, but just to use up more fuel. You know, I could break out the power washer, I guess, and just power wash the walkway just to burn gas. I don't know. This is the stuff I'm thinking about. Okay, I think I got it. Alright, this is gonna be a new experience for me. Oh, goodness. It's leaking everywhere. I kind of thought this would happen, but I was hoping it wouldn't. Okay, so now we have a gigantic fuel mess, but nobody lighted any cigarettes, and I think we'll be good. Let's attempt to drain this. Oh my goodness, the smell. I don't have a mask. Oh no. There's a line there that appears to be connected into the tank. I'm not sure what that's about, but my plan essentially is just to drain the tank, put this thing back on, and then be done with it, just for safety purposes. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now that there is more than 20 liters worth of fuel in here. If you take a look at the depth, I feel like I'm looking into a live well, but it actually goes quite high up on the funnel here, or the pump, whatever it is. I literally just threw out the package and I forgot what it's called. So I'm going to drain as much as I can into this tank, and then I may have to break out, well, I have another smaller 5-liter tank up there, but it's not enough. Looks like I'm power washing today, boys. Obviously, this is my first time using this thing, so I don't know what I'm doing. The instructions, as far as I'm aware, are to pump it a few times, and it pumps like this, and it'll start drawing the fuel in slowly, very slowly. The problem that I'm having, of course, is that the fuel is higher than the tank, so I'm gonna have to pump every stroke here, I think. So I've had to take a bit of a break from working in there because it's, well, the smell of it is just nauseating. But anyway, so there was a bunch of room in this tank, which thankfully is a big one, and yeah, my little Honda is filled, which is good. All of my other machines are filled. My power washer is filled, my snowblower is filled, and actually I could mix some gas, I guess, for my leaf blower, but I don't really want to. I need to run it out of fuel anyway for the end of the season. But the lawnmower is full, that 20 liter is full, that 5 liter is full, and I have gone over to my reserve 5 liter, and that's currently what is being filled. But I want to show you what progress I've made so far, although it's going to be difficult. But the gist of it is that the tank is not dry, but getting close. The problem with this thing is that it's got a not a flat end on it, so I might have to cut that to make it flat so I can get the rest of this stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna crack the other side, see if this tank is truly split in two, and if it is, then oh man. But yeah, I've gotten a lot of it out. This is all dirty and nasty in here, so I'm gonna have to leave the garage open for a while to let that air out, and also get some rags in there to clean that up. But man, I'm happy to be getting this done, as nasty as it is. Okay, so interesting development with this one. I think it might be the fuel level sensor, perhaps, because it definitely kind of seems like that sort of thing. There is fuel in there, but it's the same level as the fuel over there. So what I'm doing essentially is just gonna kind of slap that back on for now. I'll actually put it back together in a bit, but I've got the jack under the car and I'm tilting it kind of like this because I want the rest of the fuel to flow this way, and hopefully I can get it out. I'm not sure if that's how it works, but you gotta do what you gotta do. I mean, I bought that siphon, that's what it's called, specifically for this, and I mean, it was $8 or something, but I've gotten more than $8 worth of gas out of the car with gas prices the way they are today, so I'm saving myself money by doing some nasty work. That's literally the whole point of this, isn't it? Okay, update to the situation. I think that the tank is buffeted, is that the right word for it? Basically, it's got dividers inside of it that keeps the fuel from just moving around all over one side and sloshing back and forth, which makes a lot of sense for a more modern fuel tank, especially one that has 2 entry points. Actually 3 if you count the fuel cap. But what I decided to do was pump this side without the jack on there, and I managed to get this side almost entirely dry. There's just nothing left, and that's with the cut end on the siphon. But on this other side, I'm still having difficulties. It's like like maybe 2 millimeters of water, or not water, but fuel in there. So it looks like it has fuel, but I can't suck it up, which sucks. So I may just leave that in there. I'm kind of trying to decide what I want to do. But not quite full is this tank here. So if we take a look at how much fuel I got, basically I filled a 20 liter. That 5 liter was already filled. I filled up this tank right here, which is, I don't know, that's got to be 3 liters or so. 2-3 liters, something like that. And topped up the lawnmower and a bunch of other stuff. So I'd probably have pulled maybe 20 something liters of fuel out of here. Just over 20 liters is my guess, because I think there was a little bit left in that 20 liter tank when I was originally filling. But man, and the weight of this car has been lightened by at least that much, which is good, and in safer terms as well, now that it has less explosives in it. That makes me feel better about things. That is one thing off my checklist. And now when I whip the fuel lines off the engine, hopefully it will not just drain the tank by accident. That's kind of what I was trying to avoid there. Alright, time to button this back up, and next on the list is Actually, I have no idea. It depends on how greasy I want to get today. Okay, so I just came back from eating some lunch, and I was watching a video of a guy crack the bolts on the bottom of the subframe there, just so I could get an idea of how much force I really need to put on it before I end up destroying my back and or everything else that I love and hold dear. So maybe it's the lost brain cells from all the fuel that I was just working with, or I don't know, maybe I'm just losing my mind slowly. Some combination of the two perhaps, but I'm going to try to today, and I know this is nuts, but I really wouldn't mind cracking the bolts on the bottom of that. I don't necessarily want to take off the subframe today because I still need to do the fuel lines, and I need to take the suspension off, I think, at a minimum to be able to roll the engine out from the front of the car, but I want to try and at least crack those nuts so I can get them loose, and then that gives me a lot more confidence to pursue those other tasks. And maybe, we'll see, I'm not going to give any promises, but I might be able to get this thing rolled out from the body of the car today. That would be nuts, but it's a dream. It's a dream. Oh man, I'm out of breath, but I've done it. I had to use the handle from my jack, a 3-foot extension bar, but it's cracked. Oh my goodness, that's 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4, and I already feel like I'm gonna die. Would you look at that? That nut's been cracked. And that goes the same for all 4. Honestly, I had built that up to be a lot harder in my head than it actually was, but man, I'm happy that's done. You know what that means though? Is that we are very, very close to being able to back the body up from the engine and separate the lower subframe from the actual chassis of the car. Now, the reason that I want to do that is twofold. One is because that makes it easier to work on the engine stuff, including removing the transmission and eventually removing the engine. I can just remove it from the subframe without having to reach in there and undo the bolts for the engine mounts. And 2, I just figure it'd be a fun thing to do. Like, honestly, all the labor that I put into this has been free, right? This channel has no ads, and I'm making no return on my investment other than the initial investment in the car itself. So I'm not doing this to make money. I'm doing this because I want to have fun. And I figure that removing the entire subframe of the car will be a lot of fun, even if it isn't the right way to do it. So let's talk about exactly what needs to happen in order for that to get off of here and for the list to be checked off to actually take this entire front off. So the fuel lines run down this side of the car. I'm going to need to get under there, and I think I'll cut them probably just with a pair of scissors or something, snips basically. Obviously using anything that makes sparks on a fuel line is dumb as heck, so I'm not going to cut it with a grinder or anything like that. But yeah, those lines need to be taken off somehow. The actual suspension, I need to remove the top here. Those are fairly easy. I checked a few of them with the like DeWalt impact driver that I have, and it was easily able to take them off, so no worry there. I do need to remove probably this nut at the bottom so I can get the upper arm off. Either that, or I can take off the upper arm by removing its inner bolts, and obviously there are 4 of those because there are 2 per side, so those need to come off in order for the entire piece to come off. The heater hoses at the back are important. Those need to come off. One thing I am worried about is dumping transmission fluid all over my floor. So I'm going to go under there and check the transmission to see if it's been leaking since I took the drive shaft out. And then I'm going to think about draining it, depending on how easy the drain plug is to get off. And I need to remove the transmission mount. But other than that, the AC is a whole separate system, I just kind of realized. So that can stay in its current place and be separate from the engine removal. And everything else is probably good. Seems all my work is actually getting somewhere. I'm scared now. I didn't think I'd be doing this today, but I'm very happy to be working it. So the transmission mount is officially off, and I forgot that the transmission has fluid in it, so it's now draining, at least very slowly, into the bin here, and I've got that jack sort of just keeping it up so it doesn't stress the engine mounts too much. But I'm working quickly here to get the rest of this stuff done, because we're actually, like, shockingly close to what I need to do here. Obviously it's got to come down off of these before I do it, otherwise we're going to end up having an accident where I end up dropping the shell on the ground, which I'd rather avoid, but yeah, no, this is good. So, update, this is what the fuel lines look like. I think this is brake lines and fuel lines, so I need to cut those around here somewhere, right past this bracket, so that they come out with the engine. And then there are a couple more brackets on the side of the engine bay that are kind of tough to get to, that I should get. And then obviously the suspension, and then the rest of the bolts on the bottom of this lad. And she's out, technically free. And then all we got to do is jack up the body and back it up. I'm hoping that because the body is way lighter than it used to be, that I can kind of pick it up like a wheelbarrow. So we'll see how strong I'm feeling today, but this is a big day. I'm so excited. You guys ever wanted to see what G35 suspension looks like when it's wobbly? Yeah, this is the G35 suspension in action. Taking this piece off means I'm going to have some ridiculous camber issues, but yeah, I think it'll be worth it. Also, these are Tibron rotors, and I'm basically just putting them on as wheel spacers so that the wheels don't wobble around, because obviously the lug nuts are not big enough to go on tight enough for the wheel to actually stay without any sort of brakes. So that's the plan for now. Basically, I'm going to reassemble the wheel, do this on the other side, cut the fuel lines, and pull the engine? Man. Alright boys, here we go. This is it. Okay, the last nut is off. That means that without that jack there, this thing is technically free. Oh, oh my goodness, we just got a lower center of gravity, boys. Heck yes. It's free. I did it. Oh my goodness, it's taken so long to get here. Alright, let's go for a closer inspection of what's going on here. So there are likely a few places that are being caught currently by the body is still semi-attached to the engine. You can see that the steering shaft is still sticking through there, so we got to be careful not to yank that off by accident. Although it is loosened, I just wasn't able to get it off. It's shortened. You can kind of see the little stub sticking through that hole there. That is the other end of it, so it's not a big deal for that end. Yeah, everything here is disconnected. I think I showed you that before where it was wobbling around. And this is basically what's happened. I have dropped the front subframe to the point that the engine has dropped out of the car, which is great. The issue that I have now is obviously the reason that I dropped it like this was I wanted to be able to roll it around. That logic might be fatally flawed because the wheels might not be in a position to be able to do that, which was dumb of me to say the least. I probably should have realized that the bottom piece there is not stiff enough to be able to hold it up the way that I had intended. That's okay though. I think what I'm going to do is I'll move my Infiniti over there, and I will back the body up, and we'll just drop the engine onto the ground very slowly. I'm going to try not to damage it. Obviously I don't want to break the oil pan or anything dumb like that. I think it'll rest on the Crossmember, which is a good thing because that's still attached to the engine. I just don't want it to rest in the oil pan, and I obviously don't want to damage the oil pan. But if we can back the engine up, that would be great. Or back the body up and then see what is still snagging on the engine. That would be great. And if the engine just stays where it is, that's fine. I can hopefully be able to position it back in the same place. And obviously when I have an engine hoist, which my grandfather is bringing one down for me, I'm just going to borrow his for however long I need it. I don't know when he'll be doing that, but maybe next week we'll see. And then I'll be able to get this thing free finally. But until then, when I want to work on it, I can back the body up. This is all theoretical at this point, but back the body up, move my cars, and get the cats off, get the transmission off, get anything else off that we need, wrap the engine up into a little ball, and then when the time comes I can lift it off of the subframe, reattach the subframe to the car, and then we have a rolling shell without all the valuable stuff, and it can go off to the scrapyard finally. Oh man. Alright, in order to free the jack, I basically just made this extremely crappy stand out of 2 pieces of wood. I will make that better, I promise. This was just a proof of concept. Essentially, I have a lot of random extra pieces, and there's my cutting station right there. Brilliant stuff, I can tell you that. I think all I'm going to do is just cut another piece, split it in half, make a little box, and wood screw it together, and that'll be that for the stand. I probably should have made this before. I'm being dumb, jumping ahead a little bit, but yeah. So the engine is now supported by some blocks of wood, and at the back I am supporting it. I don't know if we're gonna be able to see, but there is, oh no, you're never gonna be able to see that, but there's a jack in there, just the manual jack from this car, like it's the one that comes with it. So yeah, let's jack up the body and see what's still attached. Oh, I'm so excited. This is great. I think there's a sort of vacuum hose thing in there that's still on. You can kind of see that there, so I'm going to bust that off. And then, other than that, I think it's just the heater hoses. And that's it. Oh yeah, you can see the shock is off now too. I might just remove those while it's still open. Obviously we don't need them, they're kind of just dead weight. But once I get more stuff off of this, like obviously when the transmission is gone, the cats are gone, that's weight, it'll be a lot easier to move everything around. So yeah, let's do it. Okay, this is the part of the video where I tell you that I have very dearly messed up. So the engine is disconnected, as you can see. The lower subframe is down there, and the bolts for it are up here. And other than that, it's basically resting on the ground now because it fell off of those blocks. It's resting on the block so that the oil pan isn't touching the ground. Obviously, my main concern is I don't want to damage the engine during this process. If I do, then that basically negates the entire point of doing this, and then I may as well just start taking this apart and selling each individual piece, which would be fun, but that's not really my plan. If it goes that way, then it goes that way, and that would be a good sort of fun thing to do, and tear down an Infiniti engine and sell off its aluminum bits, basically. But that's that's for another day, and hopefully we don't get to that. But as you can see, suspension is freed, kind of. This suspension is kind of free. Basically what's happened is it's still semi-attached. Obviously these hoses are currently the holdouts. I might end up just cutting those off because at this point I just cannot get them off. I even lubed them up with some like crown stuff there, so I'm hoping that just by letting them sit for a bit I can get them off, but they're just so stuck. I managed to get the bracket that's on the side off, which is good, so yeah, we're kind of free. The big thing that I'm worried about now is these bottom pieces here, one on both sides. The nut for it is off, but the actual piece is not, and I don't know why. I might have to pry that. I was kind of hoping it would come off when I lifted the body, but obviously it hasn't. So let me explain to you why I've messed up, because well, a couple of reasons. I thought that I was going to be able to roll the engine with the wheels attached to the subframe, which was majorly stupid, and I should have seen that coming because it only has one connection to the subframe, and that is literally just a bar that goes up and down. So obviously the subframe is going to be on the ground and the wheels are not going to be on the ground. What this does mean though is that I can lift it up with a jack, say, and I can move just the engine around using a jack and the wheels as balancers, but it's not ideal. That is honestly kind of dumb. My whole purpose of doing this was to do it without an engine hoist, but I still need an engine hoist because I can't lift the body high enough to get it away from the engine like I want to using a floor jack. So I might be frozen here for a while. And I've only done this to myself, honestly. So yeah, the transmission is not sitting on the ground at this point. It's resting on a jack stand on its mount. So that's okay. Everything is kind of at a point where I can just leave it, but it's very awkwardly tilted, and I'm not super happy with the way that this has worked out. The gist of it is that in order to lift this as high as I want to, I'm going to have to use an engine crane, kind of come up over this way, I'm doing arm signals now, latch onto this, and then push it to the side, and that'll free it from the engine here. Obviously, once I've disconnected those two lines. I think that those two lines are literally it. I think that might be the only two things holding this onto the actual car. So yeah, I'm going to take a look underneath. I'm going to make sure that I'm not still high on the gas fumes and unsure what I'm doing. And then I got to start putting this stuff away and figure out what I'm going to do about this engine sitting on the ground. I still want to build that box for it to sit on, but I need to get it back up first. So we'll see if that even is possible. There is another option. I was thinking about this. I could reconnect the suspension, and what I would have to do then is disconnect the lower subframe from the suspension, and then theoretically I might be able to roll the body away, which is kind of my current thinking, but what I'm going to have to do to get there is quite extensive, including removing the steering rack. With this current position, that is not easy to do, and somebody is unhappy over there, or a little bit too happy. So yeah, I backed myself into a corner. I will get out of it. That's just part of the deal. And yeah, sometimes I make mistakes. Obviously my logic is wrong, but I will figure it out, I promise. And obviously the engine crane will come and save me, because I'm a bit of an idiot. I honestly was thinking for a couple minutes there of using the ratchet straps up on these joists. I'm gonna end up bringing down my entire garage for this. Oh geez. It's honestly small successes like these that keep me going, because look at that. The heater hoses have finally been disconnected. Those things are difficult to get off, and well, I think it makes sense that they're hard to get off. But yeah, I think what I'm gonna do is go back on my plans a little bit here and reconnect the suspension, because honestly I think that makes the most sense. I think that's the only way for me to move forwards here, is to disconnect the stuff down there and that thing down there to get the steering off, and also to disconnect the suspension from the subframe. But that'll leave the car rolling, and with it rolling I can roll it back off of the engine and work on it from there. Oh my goodness, this is dumb, but it's slowly getting there, guys. It is slowly getting there, I promise. Okay, I've officially done what I should have done at the beginning. That is now disconnected from the subframe. The steering thing is, the tie rod maybe is what it's called, is disconnected from this as well. That was a huge pain, and the suspension is rehooked up as well. So that means that, yeah, the suspension is entirely free from the body on this one side, and I have some mad camber, which is nice, but that means that I'm closer to my goal, because all I've got to do is fix this other side, and the body shall be free from the engine, and the engine shall be free from the body. I feel like I'm quoting scripture here, but I'm honestly losing my mind. I really, really want this done tonight, so that's why I'm working so hard. I got stuff strewn all over the place, just like randomly pieces of wood out there and stuff, but if I don't end up cleaning up tonight, it's fine. I can do it tomorrow. I'm just really wanting to make some solid progress today, because I told you guys in the last video that I had lost my job. It's been 2 weeks since that happened, or maybe it's been 3 weeks. No, it's been 2 weeks. Oh goodness, I told you I've lost it, but I do have a job interview coming up, so if I end up getting that job, my time is going to be limited once again, and I really want to do as much of this as I can. So we'll see how it goes. I may have a job next week, but I really want to do more on this while I still have time. And it's getting cold. Oh my goodness, I might have to close that door. It's really windy now. Okay, it's getting dark, because it gets dark at, I mean, I think it's literally like 5 o'clock, probably before 5 right now, but both sides are done. So this side disconnected from the bottom and disconnected from the steering rack, which you might not be able to see, but it's kind of hanging out back there. That means that right now, I believe the body is entirely free from the chassis piece, or, oh man, I'm losing it. I really am losing it, but the engine is totally free from the body. And I am going to attempt to roll it backwards. I'll put a camera on this so you can see what I'm doing, but oh man, I've been working like literally all day. How many hours has it been? probably 5-6 hours on this. So yeah, it sucked to waste all that time. I took things apart that I didn't need to, and that's just how it goes sometimes. So I'm happy now with the ridiculous camber, and let's see if we can't just get this thing rolled backwards at least a little bit, to maybe check out what the engine and the transmission look like separated from the body. I've been saying that a lot, but it's because I really can't believe it sometimes that it's actually happening. Anyway, here we go. Alright, here goes nothing. If my calculations are correct, then this thing should be free. It might rub a little bit, but I should be able to roll it. Wish me luck. I might have to do this from the back. Alright. Point the wheels, and... oh, it's squeaking. Okay, I found one bracket that I missed, but I'm going to go to the back. I'm going to yank, and we'll see if I can break it. There's something squeaking, but I don't know what. It might be the steering rack, but it seems to be fine. Oh my goodness, my plan worked. I can't believe it. Okay, I can believe it worked, but I am, well, I'm very happy with the fact that it worked. Oh my goodness, that was a lot of pain and misery for what basically has amounted to pushing the car like 2 feet backwards just without the engine attached. But hey, would you look at that? The coolant hose there is dripping, but that's just how it goes. The body is free, and I'm just having trouble pushing it because it's heavy, and this ground is not exactly even. And if you probably noticed as well that that wheel is far more forwards than this wheel, and that's because this one has got its bottom piece down there disconnected, so everything is janky. But yeah, with the suspension geometry majorly compromised and my health taking a turn for the worst, I'm just kidding, I'll be fine. But oh jeez, I found out that I can't move the car by myself. I have to use a jack and a ramp to do it. Basically, the strategy is jack it up, put it on the ramp, and then the ramp sort of levels out the ground in my favor, and that way when I take it off the jack by spinning it, then I can push it a lot easier. So that's kind of what I've done here. So I'm going to continue to try and back it up a little bit. I don't want to, well, I can't go too far. There's no way I'm going to make it over this bump at the end of my driveway. So basically, if I can get it back to that bump, I'll be happy tonight. And then I'll have to push it in as soon as I'm done here. So yeah, it's a bit of a, I mean, I'm mostly just doing this at this point to have a bit of fun, just trying to get some work done and be productive. But I'll come back in tomorrow, I think, and keep going, because this is the kind of progress I've been wanting. And literally the engine is now free, kind of. It's attached to a Crossmember, but it's free, quotes. Goal achieved, I am very happy to say. So for the past few minutes, I've just kind of been sitting here posting pictures on social media because I'm excited, but I'm just thinking I should probably tell you what I've done, and also for my own records, so I know what kind of progress I've made here. But yeah, I still need to jack up the subframe. I want to fix those blocks so they're not touching the engine, and we'll just put it right directly under it. But my goodness, this has been a bit of a work here to try and get it to move. You can see that there is a plastic piece underneath this, and that's because it's been sliding on the ground, as you can tell, marking up my garage, because naturally the suspension has nothing to sit on, so it just sits on the ground, which is brilliant. See, that's why the subframe needs to be in there, or I guess I could cut one part of it off if I really wanted to and then just fix that. But at this point, it's not a big deal. I just have those pieces there to make it easier to move because it was dragging otherwise. But here's what the transmission looks like. That thing there is the shifter. I was playing with that before underneath the car a while ago. That's the transmission crossmember, which we will remove from the transmission. Basically, my goal here is to make this package a lot lighter, because there's a lot of wiring and stuff going on with that. We need to, ideally what I want to do actually is disconnect the transmission. I've got a guy who wanted it like a month ago, and I'm going to reach out to him and see if he still wants it, because now it's well, here, and as long as he's got a strong strong back, we can probably put it in the back of a truck. The engine, on the other hand, not so much. That's going to be a bit more of a fiasco, because I really feel like I need a crane to free it fully from its entrapments. But the shell is nearly done, basically. It's nearly done. So I've managed to do all of this without bursting the AC, which is what impresses me most. That's why it's currently up here. The system is actually still intact, so theoretically, if somebody wanted to, they could put this engine back in, hook up the AC, all the wiring and all that, and the AC should still work. Believe it or not. But I mean, I need to clean up. That's kind of my next order of business here, but I just want to get the rest of the wiring out of the body, which should be easy enough. I think we'll have to see about this stuff and the crossover there, because these pipes from the heater core are still in the way, but I think I'm just going to leave that in here. But I do want the rest of the wiring for my own scrap purposes. Extra wiring is not a bad thing, and anything else I can probably just take the connectors off, use those for other things, and sell it to a scrapyard for copper value or something. I did take off the wiring harness in a more meticulous way because I was thinking I might potentially sell it, but at this point I'm not sure. I still have a whole bunch of crap to get rid of, and obviously my focus now is on this, but I'm still trying to get rid of this junk, and I feel like most of it is going to end up taking up some space in my garage, more than I want it to, so we'll see. I recognize that this video was probably long as heck, and I apologize for that, but yeah, it has been a bit of an adventure today, and I hope that you have enjoyed it. I'm going to be back probably, I don't know when actually, tomorrow maybe. I'll start working again, but I kind of want to get this video edited and set up for you guys so you can see what I've been doing, and then maybe try and get some of the more main channel people over here too. So if you're from the main channel, comment below, let me know that you came here, and I'm happy to see you. There's the job I did on that bolt, by the way. Lovely. Great. I'm gonna have to grind that the rest of the way off, and this steering rack is something that I want to take off as well. But yeah, I'm just gonna clean up. I'm gonna get ready for my wife to come home because it's dark now, and generally she comes home at around this time on Saturdays, and I want to show her my progress, because she's been well, she wants me to get rid of the car. She probably wants me to get rid of this more than I want to get rid of it, because she wants to park her car in the garage for the winter, so I gotta respect that. Gotta keep your significant other happy, but also it gives me a bit of a deadline, which is a good thing. Anyway guys, I'll see you again in the next video, and I'm not even going to show you what I look like right now, because I'm a bit of a disaster, as you might be able to tell. Okay. Oh, this has been great. Man, oh man, this is a big step.